Let's get you some analysis now on the explosive testimony of witness F. This was before the Madlanga Commission today by the retired SAPS Major General, and we are going to talk to him now. That's not who was testifying. We're just saying to you that this is a Major General who's here to give us some analysis of what he thought came out of that commission, and that is Major General Jeremy Vearey. Good evening to you, General, and thank you, as always, for making time for us. And let me start with this almost overriding question about whether or not, in your mind, there is any doubt that witness F has indeed been the go-between, almost the middleman. I don't want to call him a runner just yet, but this is someone who would do the running around, fetching things on behalf of so-and-so, sending text messages on behalf of Kat Matlala to this or that other person. How would you define witness F to your mind?
I think witness F, firstly, is very limited in explaining so far exactly what that running around is for and whether that purpose serves criminal ends. Now, while he definitely places on record evidence of contact, a lot more in terms of cross-examination, I think eventually needs to be undertaken to extract the motive for the running around and exactly if there were favors done or exchanges of money in bags or whatever, etc. We need that testimony clearly from witness F.
Yeah. A lot of the time, Major General, he says he can't answer this, or no, I disagree with you, commissioners. But at some point towards the end, he does almost fold and gives a little bit more detail. And so there is no doubt that he was the connection between Kat Matlala, Vusumuzi Kat Matlala, and the acquisition of Impala. And these were for the now suspended Deputy Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibiya. Again, a very straightforward question. Any doubt in your mind that there has been a financial relationship or financial dependence or financial extraction from Kat Matlala to General Sibiya, for whatever reason that is going to have to be explained before the commission by Sibiya himself?
There hasn't been evidence that has verified beyond the allegation yet. And I think here the new special investigation team that the president has its work cut out. It must go find the material evidence to verify whatever version is, or the version that it was money and favors received, and prove it. And that is, I think, will take us through the threshold from the mere depending on the allegation to actually proving something in a material, to a material extent. So yes, there's a lot of allegations, there's a lot of corroboration by virtue of allegations, verbally oral evidence, but I do not believe that is sufficient from a detective point of view. We need to find at least some material aspect to indicate, to prove that firstly there was such a favor, whether it's in the form of money or whatever, etc., and that there was mutual benefit in this particular process. But here, like I said, the advantage we have now, we have a person who places, in a detective environment, you want people to place them, you find evidence to place them in an association or on a scene. We have enough of that. Brilliant. Now we need to go explore what that means, and our special investigation team I hope they exist already, because they ought to hit the ground running on this one.
Yeah.
So that we don't spend 5 days trying to second guess the witness,
Yeah.
while we can find evidence to slam dunk right through and cut through whatever lies or obfuscation there might be.
You actually have hit the nail on the head, because as you put it, as someone whose role within the police at the time that you were active was to make sure that there is irrefutable evidence, what you are looking for now is forensic evidence that can link whatever is being said to what has occurred. Can I ask you this question before we talk about the name of the late Deputy President also coming to the fore today? What or how much role would text messages play in an environment like this in terms of the irrefutable evidence that you talk about? Are you saying that it's not enough to be relied upon, as his legal team, by the way, sought to suggest that these could have been manufactured somehow in order to make it as if it is him who is the originator of the text message going to whomever?
Firstly, one, it is possible, and it's perfectly probable, based on my past experience, in particular cases, for these things to be manufactured. For example, I want to mention an example. Yesterday, or no, Friday, a crime intelligence major from the Western Cape, who ran his own PI firm and had a grabber, okay, was convicted.
Wow.
For illegal interception. But from what I recall at the time of the evidence in that case document, which I happened to see, it was under my watch, I saw that there was, at least through the use of the grabber, manipulation of SMS messages. And where it gets intercepted, the contents get changed in order to misrepresent what was communicated.
Wow.
So if you're talking at the level of, it is certainly possible. I also saw with the use of the grabber in that particular case for which he's convicted for, that the phone could be cloned to be listened into without the person being aware of that. Now, all of that was illegal, obviously, because the grabber was unlawfully obtained. But the point is, just looking at that on the realm of SMSs, for example, these things are possible. All we need to do in all the investigated team needs to do now is to verify or authenticate the actual WhatsApps that they have. They cannot depend and wave around like, who was it in Parliament? Did MP Derlin Minch wave a piece of paper and say, this is a group of SMSs, while we do not have any indication of whether they were authenticated by way of independent investigation. So that needs to be done. We need to be clear whether this was intercepted under a legal warrant. Because if those things, requirements are not met, no matter how true whatever might be, the evidence is inadmissible. In actual fact, it would be criminal. You can be prosecuted for unlawfully intercepting whatever information, private information.
Interesting indeed. Yeah, that is just, it's sobering. Let's then conclude the conversation, Major General, and talk about this possible acquisition of arms that would have been imported into South Africa from a destination. As I listened at the time, and I'm not sure whether the Commission did eventually get where these would be coming from, but nonetheless, the name of the late former Deputy President, David Mabuza, is brought in here, but the witness stressing that he was actually communicating with his nephew, whose name is Sipiwe Mabuza, and this person basically has a cache of arms that he wants to sell at a family price, and the commission taking them, or at least questioning him at length about whether or not, in his mind, he did not see any wrong with that, given that this is a person who clearly does not operate legally in the sale of arms. What can you tell us about that relating to the purchase of arms in this country?
Yes. Firstly, that needs to be investigated. We do have a firearm investigation team in the police structure now since June 2024. So if there's support that needs to be called on with specialized investigation, these things can be established. But as far as the investigation team of the Madlanga Commission now, you see, if we want to strengthen that evidence or that allegation, we will have to find proof of this. We will have to find the guns. Let's start there. Find us firearms first. And that is what we must use, what is coming out to achieve by the investigation team in question. So, like I said, if it is true, it is quite serious, but then it means we have to act very, very fast to get those arms out of circulation and finalize that investigation, if it is true, before those firearms disappear and all the evidence along that would strengthen the evidence of the witness.
Yeah, as you say.
Yeah. Otherwise, we have to find. You see, once again, man, allegations are allegations, but now we have an opportunity, and I hope that team has been constituted already, that is hitting the ground running and taking every single allegation that requires further authentication or verification and running with the investigation.
Former Major General in the South African Police Service, Jeremy Vearey, very, very interesting, always sobering talking to you, because you come across as very unemotional, but just sticking to the evidence. Follow whatever it is that is being said, but you need to find the actual evidence for you to then take a case, a solid case, to court. Thank you, as always, for your time.